Hi everyone, welcome to or back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sammy and I like to yap about books. And today I'm doing my February reading wrap up, so let's get into it. So this month, by the time the month actually finishes, I will have read 10 books. So about 5 less than what I read last month. I did start the month off with a migraine though, so that did not help with the reading situation. The first book that I read this month, or rather listened to, is Alice Feeney's newest book, My Husband's Wife. Now this follows a woman called Eden, and she goes for a run one evening, and when she gets back to her house she finds that her key doesn't work in the lock, so she knocks on the door and another woman answers the door and says, like, who are you, what are you doing knocking at my house? So Eden is really confused and she doesn't know what's happened, and it's very psychological. So we follow her story, and we also follow a female police officer. Now I found this, I think it's because I was listening to it as well, a little bit complicated. I kind of felt like the man in the meme with all the strings and the pictures and the just what is going on kind of thing. In the end it did make sense, but I kind of had to work it all out as I was going along, which obviously, but I think it was more difficult as an audiobook because you didn't have the like who was speaking kind of, yeah, it was a bit complicated for me. It was still good. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy the style of the writing and the way the story was told. So yeah, decent story, decent start to the reading month. The next book that I read was an ARC book from NetGalley, and I was so excited when I was approved to read this because it's supposed to be one of the biggest books coming out this year, and it is Molka by Monika Kim. Now I haven't read anything by Monika Kim before. I know she's the author of The Eyes Are the Best Part, which was very big in the bookish scene last year. And so yeah, I was really excited. This one sounded really, really good. So in this story we follow a young woman. I'm not going to say any names, character names in this, because they are all South Korean names and I cannot pronounce them to save my life, so I do apologise. But we follow a young woman and she becomes the centre of a secret camera scandal. So there was a camera in a hotel room that her and her partner were in, and they were filmed and it was leaked on the internet. And basically it is the story of what happens when this happens and the ripples of consequences that come out after it. I absolutely loved this. I was hooked. So not only have we got the camera storyline, we've also got the young woman's grief storyline. She lost her sister when she was quite young. Her sister committed suicide, and she comes back as a ghost. And as soon as I read the ghost bit, I was like, oh no, because I thought of Bat-Eater immediately. And I did not get on with Bat-Eater at all. But this does it so well. And the ghost storyline is such a... it gets so twisty and it's so just brilliant. This book is full of female rage. It's full of really important viewpoints on social equality between men and women, especially in certain cultures, and I absolutely loved it. It gets dark, and I wasn't expecting it to get as dark as it did, but absolutely loved it. And the very end twist was just beautiful. There is another storyline in this book, a young man who works in the same office as the female main character, and he actually has installed a secret camera in the ladies' bathroom at the offices, and he also comes into the storyline in a different way, and it's really creepy. And he discovers what path the female main character is going down and freaks out about it. And yeah, he's just a creep, but I can't say too much. I don't want to give it away. It's a very satisfying ending, is what I will say. I absolutely loved this. This is 5 stars. It comes out the day before my birthday on April the 28th. I really, really want a physical copy of this. I have seen there are 2 covers, and one of them is like pink eyes, and the other one is the copy that I got on my Kindle, which is like the bathroom grate and the blood dripping down from it. Oh, I really want somebody to do a special edition of it though, because oh my goodness, I love Monika Kim's writing style as well. It really hooked me and drew me in. So I'm thinking now, looking at my TBR, of reading The Eyes of the Best Part. So we'll see. That's definitely on my radar now after reading Molka, though. Monika Kim is definitely one to watch for me. The next book I listened to is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. And this is the first Grady Hendrix book that I've experienced. I do have the Final Girl support group right there on my TBR. In this story, we follow a young girl who goes to a house in which families send their young ladies who have become pregnant out of wedlock to have their children and give them away, and then pretend that nothing ever happened. And this is supposed to be a horror book. I don't feel it worked as a horror book personally, and we'll get into that in a minute. So Fern is not the girl's real name. She is given a code name. All of the girls are given different names. They're also told when they get to the house that they're not allowed to talk about their lives outside the house. They're not allowed to talk about the fathers of their children. They're not allowed to... Basically, they're just not allowed to be themselves. I found this really, really sad. I knew obviously back then that that's what they did. If you got pregnant out of wedlock, they'd send you off and you'd have the baby and etc. But I don't know. I just found it really sad what the girls went through. And in this house, they're said to be given a choice. So when they get to the house, they're like, if you want to give up your baby for adoption, that's fine. If you don't, that's also fine. But then they start to... It's almost like brainwashing the girls into being like, you're a single young woman, you can't do this. It's not right, you can't raise a child. The only righteous thing to do is to give the baby up for adoption. And yeah, it's just really sad. It's a really sad story. The horror element comes into it after Fern is given a book of witchcraft from a librarian who comes to the house in a library van. And Fern and the girls use it to kind of get their own back on the doctors and the nurses that work at the house and have done some not really nice things to the girls. And so there's kind of an element of that, but then the witch comes into it. There is a witch that comes into it, sorry, and she causes trouble, and basically it's very, I don't know, I just found it very strange. I would not have called it horror. It was a bit supernatural, a bit creepy at points, but not horror. It just didn't have that kind of effect for me anyway. And unfortunately, I don't think it really worked. It was a decent listen, but I kind of felt like, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of. Like a fly on the wall of a documentary. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I didn't get into the characters. We knew very little of them because they weren't allowed to tell each other their backgrounds, etc. And I think that made it worse. You couldn't connect fully to the characters, and it just felt very distant. So, yeah, decent, but not great for me, unfortunately. I then went on to read a book that my friend lent me from work, and it was called The Unravelling of Mary Reddish, and that was by David Whitfield. This follows the story of Mary, who gets put into a mental asylum after not taking kindly, let's say, to her boss making advances on her. And the way that her boss sets things up is just, it was so easy, and it made me so mad for Mary. It made me there were lots of things about this that made me mad for Mary, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. We do have another POV in this. It is from the side of Anne, who is the matron of the mental asylum. And we follow what happens to her in her life before they go and run the asylum. This book is split up into 2 books, and I did find part 1 really long-winded, considering they only incarcerate Mary at the end of part 1, and then part 2 is where Mary and Anna are in the same building, so the asylum. Part 1 is basically the run-up to that and what leads to Mary being incarcerated and etc. I did enjoy it. I just did think that part 1 was a bit lengthy, considering I wanted more of the mental asylum and the treatments that they did, and how, like, what happened in there. The other part that really interested me about this book was that all the names of the characters are based on real people who, I think he took it from a book. I think I posted it on Instagram when I finished reading the book, and all the treatments were real treatments that they used, and some of it is hard to read because you just think, oh my god, this is more like torture than treatment. And yeah, it was hard to read at times. I was angry at times. I was really sad for her at times. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I definitely would recommend this one. I then went on to listen to The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. I decided to listen to this because it's been sat on my immediate TBR pile for a while, and I keep hearing about it, so I just decided to listen to it, and I was not disappointed. There are parts of this book that were so creepy. Just chills, honestly. So in this story we have 2 POVs again, one from the side of Elsie and one from Anne, Elsie is newly widowed and pregnant, and she moves to the bridge, which is was her husband's family home, family estate. And she is kind of having her mourning period there. And in the other POV, we have Anne, who lived at the bridge in the 1600s. And the family are getting excited because the king and queen are coming to visit their estate. And this is going to put their family name on the map. In Elsie's timeline, she discovers these wooden, they're like dolls, but they're 2D. So they're like portraits almost, but wooden stands of these children. And they start to act creepy, as in they will be suddenly standing where you thought they weren't a minute ago, or they'll be in a room and they look like they're gathered around the fire talking. So creepy. And I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the similarities and the differences between the two women and the two timelines, and things that were happening back then that have an effect on what happened in the other timeline. And yeah, like I said, so creepy. And again, we've got a mental asylum at the end of it. The end twist was jaw-dropping. I listened to it once and then I stopped it and went back and listened to the end again. Oh, so creepy. So creepy. And it's not I don't want to spoil it for people. It's not the ending that you think you're going to get, or the ending that you would expect. It's one of those ones where you're like, did I just listen to that correctly? Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Oh boy, where do I start with the next one? I then went on to listen to Moonflow by Karella. This has also been sat on that TBR for actually since we went away, because I got this in Anik. I don't know where to start with this. I'm going to start off with what happens. So in this book, we follow Sarah, who is a trans woman who grows magic mushrooms for a drug dealer. The drug dealer gets wind of a new, stronger mushroom and wants Sarah to grow her a batch of these mushrooms. So she sends Sarah off to the woods. I think it's it's a nature reserve. And she gives her a guide. The only thing is, there is a reputation in these woods that people who go in don't come out. Even if you just go for a walk, you don't come out. And they carry on going anyway, to find these mushrooms. And it doesn't take long for the guide to become lost. He tells Sarah that he's actually been using the dead bodies of other walkers as landmarks to know where he's going. And then Sarah starts to get these messages through on her phone, even though she's got no signal, and she starts to call whatever is messaging her the glitch. And the glitch basically leads them to a cottage in the woods. And in this cottage, they come across, I think it's 3 women who take them back to what they call it is a lesbian cult. And from there, it just goes a bit crazy. I really don't know. I was really looking forward to reading this, and I felt like I just didn't know what was happening a lot of the time. The characters... Okay, so I'm not a prudish person, and I don't mind swearing or, you know, names for parts of the body, you know, that aren't to everyone's taste. But I actually, on multiple occasions, was thinking of DNFing this because of the language used in this book. Because it was every other sentence. There was this part of the body, that part of the body. I can't say it, obviously. YouTube is not the place to say those words. But it just felt so over the top and so unnecessary that it actually started getting on my nerves and taking away from the story to the point of where I actually did not care. I'm going to be completely honest here. The only reason I finished this audiobook is because I wanted to know if Sarah's cat was okay. And that was at the very end chapter. So I had to listen to it all. I just did not enjoy this. It just got to the point where there was so much where I was just like, I don't know. This is too much. I just couldn't get into it. And yeah, and the horror was more at the end. So there is a creature or a god, I think it is, in the woods, the Lord of the Woods or something like that. And there's also a lady as well. And they come into it and cause chaos at the end, and for me that's the only real horror bit to it. It kind of had like a Midsummer vibe, but on a more extreme level. And just honestly, I read this, I think I listened to this over a week ago, and I still cannot put the words together to describe this or kind of tell you how I feel about it, because I don't know. It was so confusing and just odd, and I was a bit disappointed in the main character as well, because I thought we were going to get a really cool perspective on things. But it was lost in how weird it was trying to be. I think that's the problem with this book, that it was trying to be weird, too crazy and too much. It just didn't work. Just not for me, unfortunately. After that, I went on to read Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney, and really, really enjoyed this one. I think I preferred this one to My Husband's Wife. This one follows the story of a man who is a writer, and his wife rings him on her way home from work one evening. She then, he hears her stop the car, and she says, "There's somebody in the road, I need to check if they're okay." He hears her get out of the car, he hears footsteps, and then nothing. And this one was really twisty. There are parts to this that I was just jaw dropped. So after she goes missing, the police give up on finding her really quickly. And then we jump a year ahead to where the man is depressed and he's not coping very well with her loss, because he doesn't know what happened. He has no closure. He goes to his agent, and she says, you know, "I know you're grieving still, but you need to write another book. It's part of your contract with the publishers. If you don't write it, you know, the deal is gone. So she sends him off to the Highlands of Scotland, an island, and when he gets there, he thinks he sees a woman who looks exactly like his wife, and it starts to mess with his head. And that's not the only thing that messes with his head. It kind of reminded me of Something in the Walls by Daisy Pearce, because the villages are just so, they're just so odd. And you get this really weird sense of him being an outsider and them having their ways and their community that they're very protective of. So he goes to stay in this cabin, and in this cabin he finds a manuscript by another writer who used to live on the island, and I won't say anything else about that because there's a lot that can be said for that. But this is so twisty. You can't trust anybody in this. And again, the twist at the end was just, I was stunned, but I was like, this is genius. I mean, it's like way out there and very like complex, but genius at the same time. So I really enjoyed this one. Definitely preferred it to Alice Feeney's newer book. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I flew through it. It was so good, because you get the gentleman's POV, and then you get his wife's POV at the time when she was talking to a therapist about their marriage, and it becomes clear that she isn't exactly who she says she is. He isn't exactly who he says he is, and things get very twisty, and it's so good. I really enjoyed this one. My next audiobook was Bitterthorn, and I decided to listen to this because it's been sat on this shelf for a while. I think this is actually a YA, but I didn't realise, and it's by Kat Dunn, so I really wanted to listen to this because of Hungerstone and how much I loved it. I didn't love this one as much as Hungerstone. It was good. It just wasn't as good as Hungerstone for me. I think Hungerstone is like top tier Kat Dunn at this point. So, in this story, we follow Mina, who is the daughter of the Duke. And in their kingdom, once every 50 years, the witch in the castle of the kingdom comes down and takes a companion, and nobody knows why. It's all shrouded in secrecy. And Mina, I actually felt quite sorry for Mina. She seemed to be like the black sheep of the family. She wasn't very loved. She didn't feel loved by her family. She felt very much a sideline character in their family unit. And so when the witch appears, Mina decides to offer herself up as the witch's companion. And basically we follow what happens to her when she goes to live with the witch. And it's really good. It reminded me of Beauty and the Beast meets Carmilla. But I kind of got annoyed with the relationship between the two female characters, because the witch was just so mean, and Mina had so much of that with her family. You kind of see how cruel and unkind her family were to her. And then the witch just does the same thing, but Mina still falls for her. And I don't know, I found myself really annoyed with Mina for falling for some reason. I don't know. It is very gothic. It does feel like Hungerstone kind of vibes. But it's got a twist that I wasn't keen on. I don't want to give the twist away because it's kind of a big thing, but it's one of my peeves in stories, and I just feel like it didn't add anything to the story. I mean, it was kind of the crux of their relationship, but I didn't enjoy that part of the story. I think that's why I gave it 3 stars. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep the book yet. I'm not sure. Look how pretty those bits of the book are, though. That's gorgeous. I cannot keep a book because of how pretty it is, though. God. But yeah, I would recommend it. But if I was going to say this or Hungerstone, I mean Hungerstone 100% all of the way. But yeah, a decent read, just not my favourite. So the next audiobook I'm going to chat about, because I don't know if I'll fit another one in by the end of the month. But today I finished this one, Hex, by Thomas Olde Heuvelt. I don't know if I said that right, I'm so sorry. I was really looking forward to this one. And I'm going to be honest with you, for about 80% of the book, I was so bored. Again, one of these books that I debated DNFing quite a few times because I just did not care. Which is such a shame because the story, the actual witch part of it is bloody brilliant. So this story is Black Spring is the town that we are in. It is cursed by a witch. Now this witch can appear anywhere she wants at any time. So she can be standing at the end of an aisle in a supermarket, and then the next minute she will be looking through your front door, just standing there like a creepy silhouette in the background, or she can be standing right next to your bed when you're trying to get to sleep. She has her eyes and her lips sewn shut and chains wrapped around her arms. And the story is that if somebody cuts open stitches on her eyes and her mouth, everybody in the town will die. So, I mean, how cool does that sound? But for some reason, this book follows the villagers. There's a certain family that it follows, and it's just so boring. And there are parts of it that I did not like, flat out did not like. There are scenes of animal cruelty in this. There was a whole chapter that kicked off my anxiety majorly because of a event that happened a few years back, and it just triggered me majorly. And there are points that are said in the book that just don't make sense to me. So the town is like quarantined off. That's how they kind of describe it. And all of their communication is vetted by a group that look after and kind of monitor the witch, called Hex. And the people of the town are slightly involved in this because whenever they see the witch, they have an app and they can they put down like where she is and when, and that's how they track her. And so the thing that got to me with this was they're said to be, you know, cut off from the outside. They didn't want anyone from the outside finding out about the witch and the curse, etc. But then on Halloween, they would let visitors in for the burning of the wicker person that they made. But then they'd kick them out, and those people weren't affected by the curse. But then they'd let people in to move into the town, but these people would be affected by the curse. I was just like, if you set foot in the town, surely that's it for you. That's what I would have thought anyway. The other thing is, part of it, they make it sound like it is under like proper lockdown, and the way in my head I had it was a bit like like in WandaVision, where they have like the army barricades around the town exits and entries and stuff. But then in other parts it's like, oh, people can come and visit and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, how is this? I don't understand how this works. It was just not fully thought out right, I don't think. And yeah, it's just very slow. There are two parts to the story as well. There's a part, excuse me, where it's like we follow the family living with the witch and what happens, and the teenagers get a bit moody about living the way they have to live their life, and they start to play pranks on the witch and push the boundaries to see what will happen if they test her. And things do happen, but it wasn't like, oh my god, that's so scary and so freaky. Also, another thing that bugged me about this book, the author seems to have a thing about boobs. Every time a woman is accosted by a man, or, you know, seen like in her house, I don't know, every time, and it's very detailed descriptions, and I'm just like, why, like, what is this, what is happening? Yeah, and then part 2, something happens, and it happens very quickly, because I was like, have I missed something? And I actually went back into the chapter before, and I was like, nope, not missed it, just not being explained to properly. And it just goes crazy. Like, things get ramped up, but I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel anything for the characters. I think I was annoyed because it was such a good witch story. There was such good, that main idea was so cool. Like, how freaky would it be that a witch could just, you know, stand by your bed and just watch you sleep for 3 days? Because that's how long she would appear for, apparently. Again, I don't know why, that's never explained. The ending is really quick and really weird. Just really weird. And dark. And I know it's a horror book and that's what you expect from horror books, but I don't know, it just felt... I don't know what's wrong with me this month. I'm being very critical about books, and this just wasn't for me either, so yeah. Okay, the last book I'm going to talk about, I'm very excited. I'm currently reading it. It is another ARC book from NetGalley, and I was so excited when I got the email that I got approved for this one. And I'm about, I think, 34% into it. and I'm absolutely loving it. It is Bone of My Bone by Johanna van Veen, and I loved Johanna van Veen's other 2 books, and this one is just as good, if not better, I think. It's very different from My Darling Dreadful Thing and Blood on Her Tongue, sorry. It's very different. It's set in more medieval times. We are following 2 women, Ursula, and I have forgotten the other girl's name, but Ursula is a nun and the other girl is a peasant girl, and they are fleeing war. Their land is being ravaged by soldiers and they're fleeing war. And they come together quite randomly while they're fleeing, and they decide to stick onto each other and flee together. And as they're travelling north, which is where they're going to get safe, they come across a man who is dying. He has been attacked by soldiers, and he asks them to fulfill his dying wish, which is to take the skull of a saint and to reunite it with her body, because that will give them a wish. And so they take the skull and they decide to try and do this as they're kind of fleeing to safety. We also have a third POV from a man called Otto. Otto is a soldier who is fighting and, you know, ravaging these lands. And I don't want to give it away. I'm not going to give it away because this isn't out yet, and it's not out till May, and I don't want to give any spoilers. But his POV, you get like a supernatural twist, and I love it. I'm normally not a big fan of this kind of what can I say without giving it away? This kind of twist, but it's so well done. Like I said, I'm only 34% in, but I'm absolutely loving it. Johanna van Veen is one of these writers who just grabs my attention when reading, and I just get fully immersed. Like when I've been reading this, I am fully into the story, and excuse me, I absolutely love it. I have a feeling this is going to be my favourite one of hers already. But yeah, I will have to let you know. But I'm absolutely loving it so far. So that is what I have read in February. I may get to listen to another audiobook before the last day of the month. So I'll let you know if I do get around to doing that. So I did manage to squeeze in another audiobook, and I listened to Tusk Love, which is the Critical Role book. Now this book is so good. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's a lot different to the other Critical Role books because it is basically a book that is mentioned in campaign 2 that one of the characters reads. And in it, we follow 2 characters, Oscar and Guinevere. And Guinevere is the daughter of 2, they're kind of peasants, and they want a better life for themselves and their daughter. They want to make a name for themselves. So they try to marry her off to somebody else, but she has to go to where they are because that's where they've found the potential husband. On the way, her caravan gets attacked and all of her guardsmen get killed. And Oscar comes into it and escorts her to where her parents are. And along the way, they basically fall in love, and there is some spice in this, guys. And a lot of D&D references, which I absolutely loved. And yeah, this, it's not my normal cup of tea because it's like a proper romance, but with a lot of D&D thrown into it. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. There were some funny bits, some sad bits, some really cool D&D geeky bits. And yeah, absolutely loved it. Loved the narrators as well. They did such a good job of bringing the characters to life. And yeah, what can I say? I'm so glad I've got this copy because look at that. And it's signed, so trophy copy for my shelves already purchased. But yes, I got another audiobook done. I am hoping to finish Bone of My Bone either tonight or tomorrow. I do need to go and edit the vlog though. So without any more words, I would definitely recommend Tusk Love, and I will pass myself back to my past self. We go. So let me know what you have been reading in the comments. Say hi. Like this video if you liked it, and if you want to hear me yap a bit more about books, please do subscribe to the channel. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.